the up-and-coming motion that wouldn't necessarily have come up in pretrial motions until now. I can elaborate further.
Continue.
Thank you, Your Honor. The defense would motion to dismiss this trial based on the admittance of a Brady violation by the prosecutor. The prosecutor openly admitted that it was his responsibility to provide material evidence, possibly exculpatory evidence, to the defense, and he failed to do so. This is based on the discovery request that was put in by the defense and was never answered by the prosecutors.
Prosecutor Blackstone, if you are speaking, I cannot hear.
Yes, Your Honor. In regards to that, you answered that for the state. And if they're trying to argue a Brady violation, then it's up to basically two options. You recuse yourself, and then it goes into a Brady violation, or you can dismiss their motion and continue with the case.
I agree. I'm going to dismiss that motion. We're going to continue this case like I told Prosecutor Blackstone.
Thank you, Your
Now,
Honor.
is there any other pre-trial motions that should have been brought up in the pre-trial hearing before we continue with the rest of the case proper? Because at this point, we are currently an hour in, and we are just now starting the case.
Not from defense, Your Honor.
All right. Prosecutor, please state your name for the record clearly.
Harvey Blackstone for the state.
All right. Defense.
Your Honor, for the defense is Oliver Hall and Cyrus Hunt.
All right. And then can I have the defendant please state his name for the record?
Dolby Pattason, dog.
All right. So previously, we were here to hear the arguments of why the defendant should or should not be charged or found guilty of the following charges. However, during pretrial motions, defense successfully motioned to suppress evidence and dismissed the following charges: illegal possession of drug paraphernalia, possession of illegal contraband, drug trafficking, quantity over 600, possession of CDS with intent to traffic, bags of weed 120 to 120 or 199, possession of CDS with intent to traffic, bags of heroin, China white, crack cocaine, LSD 65 to 119. So at this point, the defendant is only going to be charged with the assault on a public servant, felony evading law enforcement in a vehicle, and possession of an unregistered firearm. Now, defense, how does your client plead in these charges?
Your Honor, the defendant pleads not guilty to all charges.
All right, we continue on with the trial. Prosecutor Blackstone, you may proceed with your opening statement.
Okay, Your Honor. I had an opening ready, but now I have to readjust it. Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the court, on October the 4th, 2021, based on the pretrial motions that have suppressed and muddied the rest of the trial, there was a report of a black contender. There was a report of making death threats towards a judge. Now, this is something that is not to be lightly taken. This was done in front of the courthouse, and a chase pursued. The vehicle continued to evade, which is in violation of the piece 2309. In regards to that, the vehicle did finally eventually stop, and there was a chase that led forward.
Oh.
After the chase ensued, it led to the officers having to go to a code red, which resulted in the driver being incapacitated. And after he was neutralized, he was searched and shown to be in possession of a firearm that was not registered. That was all, Your Honor.
All right, defense. Are you ready with your opening statement?
Permission to approach, Your Honor.
Just your. Well, I guess it's both prosecutors. Or are you just wanting to be in the well?
No, just be in the well for my opening statement.
Oh yeah, go for it. Sorry.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen of the court, I'm going to be giving a pretty brief opening statement here. I'd simply ask that through the course of this trial, think about a couple key things. First and foremost, I'd like you to take note of the lack of evidence that surrounds this trial. I'd like for you to think wholly, based on the evidence that is submitted in this trial, whether or not there is enough evidence to convict the defendant. Secondly, I'd like you to consider whether or not the events that led up to these charges in this incident was a lawful stop. Overall, you're not going to hear evidence today of a 911 call or any reason for an officer to stop the defendant in this case. Therefore, any actions that may have taken place afterwards are not and cannot be held accountable. Defendant cannot be held accountable if the stop in question was unlawful. Overall, the defense would ask the defendant is found not guilty on all charges.
Is this the closing?
All right, thank you. So, prosecution, may you call your first witness?
Yes, Your Honor. I'd like to call to the stand Marcus Fletcher.
Oh, that was
Sheriff
open.
Fletcher, please
What the hell?
approach the web.
Good evening, Sheriff. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please have a seat, sir.
Hello there, Sheriff. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Alrighty. Were you involved in the scene in question?
Partially. So I was up in Sandy Shores, speaking to some of my colleagues from BCSO as well as my undersheriff, I believe. Whenever I saw on Bleeder that Dolby was proactively bleeding out, thus giving me the connection that he was around. So I went down to the city to try finding him, so that way I could execute the arrest warrant that I had written for him. So when I arrived on scene, he was already incapacitated off of Palomino and being treated on scene by primary officer Scaletta.
Okay. Alright, and let's see here. Let me take a look at it. Did you who took the pictures in Exhibit A1 and A2?
Forgive me, let me just look at it.
Okay.
So I believe the pictures in evidence A1 and A2 was taken by Scaletta, if I'm not mistaken. My only involvement with this apprehension was kind of scene security.
I gotcha. Okay. All right then. No further questions.
All right, defense. Who do you wish to cross-examine?
Oh, ouch.
Good afternoon, Sheriff Fletcher, or evening, sorry.
Good evening.
So sorry, just so I can understand, you've been called as a key witness in this case. Were you doing scene security, or were you the one to originally stop Mr. Pattason?
No, I was not the one who originally stopped him at the courthouse. I was arriving late whenever he was already incapacitated. My role, I was patrolling the Bay City area because of the beliefs that Dolby was bleeding out. So I was looking for him to execute my arrest warrant whenever I saw and heard over the radio that he was apprehended and incapacitated off of Palomino. So that's whenever I arrived on scene, and he was being given medical and the rest of the procedure.
Okay, so you got an arrest warrant.
Yes.
Ultimately, just to go over it again, you weren't the person to pull him over, right?
No.
You were nowhere near the traffic stop when it originally had started, right?
No.
Right. And by the time you got to the situation, Mr. Pattason, he was already incapacitated, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Hello, Sheriff Fletcher. How are you today?
I'm doing great.
Good to hear. I could get you to look at Exhibit A1. I believe it's labeled. Let me know if you need a copy of that or directions to find that. Have you found the exhibit, officer?
Yes, you're sheriff, but yes, you're referring to A1 and A2?
Of course, Sheriff. Yes. If you could just look at A1 for now, I think that'd be simpler. Now, can you describe who exactly you see in this photo? All individuals that you see in this photo.
So in this photo, I see the back of my deputy Scaletta, and it looks like a LSPD unit. And that's pretty much all I see, actually, going by that exhibit.
Are you familiar with what the defendant looks like?
Yes, multiple occasions, both Tuesday and what's going on now.
So you'd be able to recognize the defendant, is that right?
If he was pictured, yes.
Now, if you could again, looking at Exhibit A1, anywhere in that photo, do you see the defendant?
No.
Can you describe what this photo is about?
Your Honor, I would like to object to relevancy in regards to this, since it was already noted for the courts and for the defense to comprehend that he said he did not take those pictures, so I don't know why they're questioning about it.
I can rebut if you'd like, Your Honor.
Defense.
Of course. I mean, overall, I think it's pretty fair to examine and question a key witness about a piece of evidence. Whether or not he actually searched the defendant, it's quite unclear whether this is the search of the defendant in question at all. I'd like to get to know from a witness that does actually know the defendant if this is a search of him. And that's a pretty fair question.
Your Honor, again, he already stated for the court he performed security since his key status was revoked by you, Your Honor. Or basically his key purpose was revoked by your acceptance of the motion to suppress.
Yeah, I think I'm going to sustain that objection from the prosecution. Paul, I believe those questions are better asked for the person that actually made those pictures.
Of course, Your Honor.
And Your Honor, the state would like to also have all that was said there be stricken from the record.
I mean, Your Honor,
Oh, sorry. Hold on. What was that?
of course, Your Honor, the defense would wholeheartedly object. Overall, the time for objection for any sort of testimony would be when the question is asked, not after the fact. Also, I would state again, it is highly relevant. If an officer that does know and can recognize the defendant cannot point him out in a picture that is asserting that it is a search of the defendant, is pretty relevant in this case.
The rebut to that, Your Honor, is the fact is these are just pictures of a pocket. As far as what I'm aware, that's all that this picture is supposed, A1 and A2 are supposed to be, is the pockets. I don't know how in the world we're supposed to be looking at the world and pockets at the same time.
All right, calm down, Blackstone. I don't need your smarky remarks after that. So I'm going to approve your motion to strike that from the record.
Your Honor, just to clarify, it was just the last few questions.
Sure, so long as they aren't pertaining. Well, yeah, go ahead.
No. Just the last couple questions were stricken, not the whole examination.
C.
Okay. We have no further questions, Your Honor.
All right, thank you very much, Sheriff Fletcher.
Absolutely.
Prosecution, do you have any other witnesses?
Bear with me one moment, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor. I'd like to call the stand. One moment. 421 Oscar letter.
Right, Officer Scaletta, could you please approach the well, please?
Yes, sir.
Over here. Just raise your right hand, Officer Scaletta. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please have a seat, sir.
Yes, sir.
Oh, there, Officer Scaletta. For the court's record, my apologies. I didn't catch your first name.
Raylan.
Okay, my apologies. And what is your rank?
I'm a senior deputy within the LSSD, also detective, probationary
Okay.
detective.
All right. Well, thank you, Detective Scaletta. Yeah,
Yes,
Scaletta.
sir.
My apologies. Okay. Were you involved in the arrest of the defendant?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see here. So, in regards to what is noted in the incident report, you responded. Oh, let's see. Hold on. You responded. Did you respond to the courthouse?
Yes, sir. I was already there on scene, or at the front of the courthouse.
Did you witness what was happening?
Yes, sir. So would you like me to explain it a little?
No. Let me ask a question here. Do you recall what was said? To looks like what you noted, the Honorable Castillo.
No, not the time.
Okay. What? Okay. What caused the chase?
So basically what happened was I was in the front of the courthouse. It was person reported to me, so I was told that a black contender was making threats to Judge Castillo. From there, I stood by for a couple of minutes just to make sure they didn't come back. We spotted the truck in the front of the courthouse. I then jumped in my car. He drove away a bit, pulled him over, and I waited till more units could arrive. As soon as more units arrived, the truck started driving off.
Okay. Was the driver instructed to turn off his engine?
Yes.
Okay. Was the driver instructed to throw his keys out?
Dog.
No.
Did the driver shut off his engine?
I believe for a moment.
Let me for clarification for the court. Did he or did he not shut off his
He-
engine?
He did for, a moment, and then units showed up.
Okay.
Hold on. I'm going to have you repeat what you had just.
He did. Hello.
Your voice.
Your Honor, your voice is kind of getting caught a little bit.
Oh, am I better? Hello.
Yes. All right.
Would you like me to repeat it still?
Please.
So he turned off his engine for a moment, and then additional units showed up, and then it was turned back on.
Okay. Let's see. Did the vehicle flee from the traffic stop?
Yes.
Alrighty. Let's see here. Try to take a look here. Okay. I see it noted here. Okay. Did the truck or my apologies, let's use the proper term, the contender back into you?
Yes. We were, I believe it was Vinewood or Vespucci around the canal right there. We went around a corner with no type of railing. He stopped, backed up into my vehicle, and sent it into the water.
Okay. Were you let's see here. Let me take a look.
I believe the judge has fallen ill.
Oh,
Judge Mercado, would you like us to continue or wait for Judge Morales?
Give me one.
or was that you on?
Let me check up on Judge Morales really quick.
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead and continue.
Okay. Detective Scaletta,
Yes, sir.
when the truck backed into you, did you go into the water?
Yes, sir. I fell into the canal water right there.
Were you hurt?
A little. I had some bruises. Nothing too extensive. I breathed in some water, but that was about it.
Okay. Was it difficult to get out of your car in the water?
Yes. I had to break the window.
Was the car filling up quickly with water?
Yes.
Was your car able to be retrieved in the water?
No, it was not.
So, with that being said, and given the definitions of the law, were you threatened with bodily harm?
Yes.
Okay.
In what sense? Like with the, like, did he threaten me prior, or?
No. My apologies. Let me get clarification for that. When he was backing into you,
Mhm.
with your professional opinion and understanding of the law, would that constitute as threat of bodily harm?
Uh, wasn't really threat. He more followed through it. So
Okay. So what? Okay, gotcha. It was an action of attempting to harm you.
yes,
Do you know where you suffered the bruises?
I believe it was on my arm and head.
Okay. How are you feeling now?
Decently decent, sir. You know, could be better, could be worse, but I'm doing all right.
Okay. Now then, moving on from the near, looks like drowning, basically, but you were able to break your window and get out. Let's see here. It was noted that this who called out this what you wrote it on the incident report, code red.
I do not recall at the time. I was just getting out of the water, a little shooken up, so I don't recall, but it was deemed code red.
Did you incapacitate the driver?
No, I was not one of the officers that incapacitated him.
Okay. Okay. How did you get in contact with the defendant after after you got out of the water?
Uh, so I got out of the water, ran over to the final point of the incident, and that's where I conducted a handcuffing and search for any weapons or frisk of any weapons.
Okay. And look at exhibits A1, A2. Who took those pictures?
I did.
Okay. Now, given with the circumstances here, understanding, are those the defendant's pockets on the right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, and then let's see here. Try to take a look here. Now then, in regards to that, is it legal for individuals to possess a firearm that doesn't have a serial number on it?
No, it is not. A firearm must be registered and have a serial number.
And is that exhibit A2?
I believe so.
You can reference it, but do you know for sure?
Yes, Exhibit A2 is the firearm.
And this was the firearm found on the defendant.
Yes.
Alrighty. No further questions, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you, Prosecutor Blackstone.
Oh my God.
Defense.
Good afternoon, Deputy Scaletta. Did I say that correctly?
Yes.
All right. I'd just like to touch bases on a couple of the things that you said.
Mhm.
So just going over the, let's just say timestamps as an example. So you were at the courthouse, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you stated, was that you that wrote the incident report, or was that somebody else?
That was me, sir.
Okay. So in that incident report, it states that you received a report
Yeah.
with regard to Judge Castillo. Who did you receive that report from? Was it a 911 call?
No, it was a in-person type thing. I was at the courthouse when a person walked up to me to report that.
Sure. And who was that person?
I don't believe I remember them. They were a security guard, or he was a security guard.
Okay.
He or she.
And it was a black contender, right?
Yes, sir.
Right. And how long was it after the report was given to where you actually pulled over the person?
I believe 5 to 10 minutes. I received the report by person or in person. I'd say 5 to 10 minutes went by. We seen the contender, the black contender, out front across the street, parked up, and they said, "Hey, that's him."
What's that?
And then hopped him, or yep.
Okay. And just to go over it, this was just a regular black contender, right?
Yes.
Right. You'd agree that there's more than one black contender in the city driving around the streets?
Yes.
You'd agree that the security guard never gave you a license plate, right?
Yes.
Right. So what grounds did you have to stop the contender if all you had was a basic description, no license plate?
Reasons or suspicion, sir. So I see a black contender, matches the description of the vehicle. I then attempted to pull him over.
Right. So let me give you an example. Let's say I come up to you and I say that there's a white baller driving, or that just did something. Do you
Yes.
have cause to stop every one of those cars that you see along the streets?
If they fit the description, yes, I have all the right to question them.
Right. So what you're saying here is that you can stop every single vehicle from a report or based on a report.
Yes, sir.
You're also stating that you don't need a license plate.
Well, a license plate will help narrow it down. It wouldn't, hinder the call.
Okay. And just to confirm, you said a black baller, right? That was the description that was given to you?
No, it was a black contender.
Oh, sorry, black contender. And what does that vehicle look like?
It's basically a lifted truck in some cases. They have I don't know what you call it, the little top on the back where the bed is.
Okay. And at any point during the pursuit, did the person driving the vehicle switch vehicles at any point?
No,
They didn't switch vehicles.
no, they did not.
Okay. I'd like to direct your attention to an exhibit, if I may. If you could direct your attention to... Sorry, give me one moment.
Rylan.
Sorry about that. If you could direct your attention to exhibit A1, please.
Objection, Your Honor. Again, the situation is that we're looking at pockets. We can't see anything else besides what's in pockets.
Your Honor, if I may.
Go ahead.
I mean, overall, in terms of this photo, we can clearly see more than just defendant's pockets. And I suppose if we're looking to determine whether or not this photo is valid and what other else there might be, it's my understanding that it is current precedent and guidance that photos all must contain, a phone or some sort of photographing device in order to be admissible. So I don't think it's that much of a stretch to ask about what else is in the picture, or it should be completely disregarded if it's the case.
Um, but wait, so who was taking these photographs again? Was it
It was him, Your Honor.
Officer? Oh, okay. Well then, and if that's the case, then I'm going to overrule that objection. I want to hear the story behind these photos.
Okay. Sorry about that, officer. I'm just going to ask you my question one more time, just so it's clearly on the record. Could you direct your attention to Exhibit A1, please? You'd agree that you took this photo?
Yes.
You'd agree that it's an accurate representation of the incident?
Not the entirety of the incident, but the aftermaths of the frisk.
Sure. You'd agree that you can see the vehicle that was used, right?
Yeah.
Right. It's that car right there, right?
Possibly. It's been a while from when this happened.
Okay. But just to confirm here, because we need a pretty clear answer, you'd agree that that was the car that was used, right?
Possibly. I do not recall it. Like I said, it's been a week or two.
Okay. Would you
Well-
dispute me if I told you that that was the car that was used?
Not really.
Sure. You'd agree that that car, that's not a contender, right? That's a Granger.
Possibly. It looks like a contender. Looks like.
Okay. Well, let's make
Yeah.
this, let's break it down, right? You'd
Yes.
agree a contender is kind of like a pickup truck, right?
Yes.
It's a big truck. It has the 3 lights in the middle.
No. Has 2 lights on either side.
Sure. It's an elevated truck, right?
Yes.
Right. And if you direct your attention to this exhibit, that's not an elevated truck, right?
No, I do believe I see push bars on it though.
Right. And a Granger can have push bars, right?
Yes.
Right.
No, a contender can.
Right. And
believe
so
a
can a Granger, right?
can. Possibly. I
Okay.
never dealt with the accessories of Granger.
Okay. I don't want to get in a whole dispute about cars here, but I do have to ask you, does this look like, or sorry, you'd agree that this is a Granger, right? In that picture?
Like,
And you can take a minute to look at it if you like.
yes, give me one moment. To be honest, I can't really tell the difference.
Okay. So let's try to break this down a little bit. You know what a
Okay.
Granger looks like, right?
Sort of, yes.
Sort of. Okay. Would it help you if you had a moment to take a look at what a Granger looks like?
Yes.
Okay. Well, here, Your Honor, if he may use the computer in front of him to search it up briefly.
Can I ask why we are asking someone that was on scene? That sounds these are sounding like expert questions of like what a car is and what the car isn't. Like, I kind of am failing to understand where you're going with this argument.
Sure. The reason for the argument is because the officer had received a tip that it was a black contender that was threatening Judge Castillo. Of course, in this exhibit, you can clearly see that that's not a black contender. The minute after the examination, that we moved to suppress all the evidence and dismiss the case due to the fact that it was based off an illegal stop. Because the original report that was submitted to the officer was, again, not a Granger, it was a contender, and that's very clearly not a contender.
Your Honor, The state would like to object to that. For the fact is, there's no relevance for the Granger. Granger was never mentioned. Granger was never noted in the report. Granger was never brought up in the prosecution's questions. It has no relevance to what the defense is trying to erroneously and I would say jokingly bring up into court just to stall for time.
I can assure you we're not stalling for time. Again, the officer was told it was a black contender. That's very clearly not a black contender. We then submit to this court that if they did not have grounds for the stop because it was not based off the original report, then all the evidence that was gathered there and after is just fruit of the poisonous tree because they didn't have grounds to stop the vehicle in the first place.
And again, Your Honor, all we're looking at is pictures of what's in pockets.
Which the objection was overruled by Your Honor.
I'm going to. One moment, please. I'm going to speak with my co-presiding judge real quick.
Sorry, just one second, Deputy Scaletta. Sorry.
Wait, what?
Oh, sorry, I said 1 moment. They're just taking a minute.
Oh, yeah, of course.
That does not look like a Granger at all.
What is it?
It's 100%.
That does not look like a Granger at all.
It's 100% a Granger, and in the arrest report it states Granger as well was the tip. People just need to read what's written in front of them and use it in the courtroom. Please, for the love of God. Please! About the retiring in my bar card. I'll do it myself. What's up, Arnhem? Hey.
It's all good, man. You should be good to go. Our portion's getting appealed, so you'll be back.
Sorry, what?
Yeah.
Sorry, are you putting a beat?
I thought you were talking to me. I'm so confused.
Oh, no, it's a...
Oh, of course. Oh, just standing here. Yeah.
Okay, I'm actually going to sustain Blackstone's objection with that, and I'm going to ask defense to move along from the car subject because honestly, that's not like I don't see that as being pertinent to the to what's going on here.
Your Honor,
may we approach very briefly?
Your Honor, I would like to also ask that all the questioning regarding this quote-unquote Granger be stricken from the record as well. For the fact is, again, we're looking at pockets.
Your Honor, may we approach?
Yeah, go ahead and approach.
Sorry, would you like me to come around? I don't know, sometimes the judges...
Yeah, come around.
No, we would just, again, just submit that the Granger has an extreme great relevance to the case because the police pulled over a car that was not submitted in the original statement by the security guard. So, of course, you know, they may have had grounds, which I still wouldn't think they do. They can still pull over any car, but let's just say they do, as an example. They had grounds, if this court does agree that they did from the statement, to pull over a black contender. And if he is going to say that that's a black Granger, then there was no ground.
Wait, why is there a different vehicle listed in the pre-filing than there is in the arrest report?
Is it's through the poisonous tree.
What the fuck?
Fletcher has a point. It's two completely different things going on.
Sounds like DA's office fucked up.
No, not at all. If you received, if a police officer received a report that this car
Yeah.
was using the commission
Fucking arrest report says Granger. And then, what do you call it? Pre-filing says the contender. No shit.
Any reasonable person could say that they had a lawful
No
ground
shit.
in the traffic stop on that vehicle. I recognize Mr. Blackstone could probably go back and forth all day, so I'd like to just get your Honor's opinion because, I mean, I'm sure we can argue about it all day.
Incident report at 9:35, a black Granger SUV that was reported being death threats against Judge Castillo was spotted by me front of the courthouse and Occupation Ave. Now we go to the pre-filing. At 9:35, a black contender that was reported to be making death threats against Judge Castillo was spotted by me in front of the courthouse on Occupation Ave. Where?
Could decide whether it was a Granger or a contender. Even though it was 100% a fucking Granger.
I just don't see anything about like a photo of a vehicle or anything. There's no photograph of any vehicle on here. The only one that there is on the pre-filing, and that's a fucking. That's not a fucking SUV. Oh
Sure,
my
and of
god,
course,
man.
Because, again, what we're trying to state to the court, that is, if they don't have a reasonable, officers need a reason to pull somebody over. They can't go around pulling anybody over, and if that's
Yes,
what they
I
did in
do.
this case, then stop was illegal. And if stop was illegal, then all the evidence that was
There you go.
subjected to the search there and after would be suppressed. I mean, that's the reason why we're so focused on it, is because they pulled over a different car than what was submitted to them.
And you get paid for it.
Mind if we try one more question as to whether or not it was a Granger? Again, it's pretty important for the case.
How do you think they're doing, Jessica?
Well, from what I know, the DA's office really dropped the fucking ball.
Without a doubt.
So,
The pre-filing
do you
doesn't
see what they're
match
doing,
the
though?
report. Yeah, I see
Yeah.
what they're doing.
Which is fantastic. I'm giving them props. Fantastic legal work. If you can prove that the initial stop was not lawful, that there was no grounds for the official stop, then the remainder of the charges and the search warrant are null and void. So they're doing their job. We can't blame them for that. And yes, there are a lot of discrepancies that even as judges we have to work through all this paperwork.
Yeah, I'm not even like a legal standing, obviously, like either of you two, but like right off the bat, the incident report says a white in color. Or no, hold on, let me pull it back up. Sorry, yeah, at 9:35, a black Granger SUV, free filing, a black contender. Like,
Here we go. Sorry.
Right, sorry about that. Sorry, I should clarify. Are you a deputy or a detective?
Well, within the sheriff's department, I'm a deputy. Within the major crimes division, I'm a probationary detective.
Is that recent?
The detective, yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm just going to ask you one question. You've had the opportunity to look at what a Granger is. You would agree that the vehicle in Exhibit A1 is a Granger, right?
No, so after inspecting what a Granger looks like, usually on either sides of the, I'd say roof of the Granger, there are skids, so little, things you could probably tie down stuff to. Also, reviewing a little bit more, or looking at looking at the photo, you could also see some lights behind the officer, standing towards the middle of the hood, right there.
Sure. All right, we'll move on. Sorry, just that vehicle. Did you get a plate on the scene?
I do not recall. Again, I was more tending to the suspect and frisking him for any weapons.
Okay. And he's not being charged with driving a stolen vehicle, right?
No, I do not believe I charged him with that.
So then I presume from your investigation you gathered that it was his car?
Again, I wasn't the one, checking out the vehicle.
Oh,
I
okay.
was,
I apologize.
I was more tending towards the suspect as he was rendered unconscious and frisking him for any weapons.
Yeah, I'm bored. Fall asleep right here in the pew. Vroom.
Sorry, you were asked a couple questions with regard to your vehicle going in the water or something to that degree?
I asked?
No, you were asked.
Yes, I was asked.
Right. Actually, if you could give me one moment.
Don't ask about the assault. Instead, ask if there's any evidence submitted as to who was the stranger. And basically, it means that they don't know who was the stranger. They don't actually know the model.
All right, Deputy Scaletta, I just have a couple more questions, and then I believe Mr. Hall has a couple, and then hopefully we can get you going.
Yes,
I
sir.
recognize it's been quite a long day for you here, so I'll do my best to speed it along for you. Could you do me a favor? Could you run Mr. Sorry. Could you run the defendant's name in the MDT?
Sure. 1 second. It's Ran.
Thank you. And could you see his registered vehicles?
No.
You can't?
No.
Is there any way that you're able to look through his registered vehicles?
No, we need a license plate for that, sir.
Okay. And do you know who would have gathered a license plate from the scene?
Again, sir, that wasn't really my priority to check who was doing
No,
what.
I understand. I'm saying, do you know who would?
I do not, sir.
Okay. All right, Detective Scaletta, I believe Mr. Hall has a couple questions for you, then hopefully get shot right.
Yes, sir.
Hello there, Detective.
Hey,
All
how
right.
you doing?
Now, I recognize you've been asked about the stop a little bit here. I'd like to go back there for a moment. Now, can you describe the vehicle that you pulled over?
I was blacked out.
Okay, it had tinted windows, is that right?
Yes, the windows were tinted. The color was black.
I'd imagine it was pretty hard to see into the vehicle, is that right?
Wasn't that difficult. Again, they were tinted, but it wasn't like completely.
It was nighttime, right?
Yes.
Okay, and there were also tinted windows in this vehicle?
Yes.
Okay. Now, previously in your testimony, you stated that you didn't get the chance to talk to the driver, is that right?
No, I told him to shut his engine off.
Okay. Now, the back window of the vehicle was still intact, right?
The time.
Right, and that back window was in fact tinted?
Yes, to a degree.
I imagine you wouldn't have been able to see the occupants of that vehicle, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, did you run the plate?
No, again, I was waiting for additional units to arrive to do further investigation.
Okay. So at that point, you had no idea who was actually in the vehicle. Is that right?
Yes.
You had no idea who owned the vehicle.
No.
Okay. And eventually, you lost the vehicle. Is that right?
No, we did not lose. Well, I lost the vehicle. Other
Okay.
units stayed on.
Perfect. Thank you. Now, I get you to look over the evidence for me. Just whenever you get a chance, look over the docket. Good. So I do have a question about evidence that was or was not submitted. Okay. Let me know when you're ready.
Yes.
Do you see anywhere evidence that was submitted as to the plate of the vehicle?
Are you talking about like the incident report, the evidence?
I'm talking about what was submitted into evidence. Anywhere on there, is there a picture of an MDT or any evidence to show the plate of the vehicle that you pulled over?
No.
I told her I'm gonna see it out to the end.
All right.
because I know you
So
still hold that number 2 spot for
nothing
me,
of that.
but if
Now, is there any picture of, say, the MD or the
99% sure.
defendant's, sorry, the defendant's MDT profile or any of his
That
vehicles?
fucking number 2 ready for me.
We can't get a list of their vehicles, so no.
Well,
Okay.
When,
Did you end up searching the vehicle in question?
when is this?
I believe other officers did. Like I told the other lawyer man right there, I was tending to him, make sure he didn't die.
Figure out
Okay.
what
You were the
information
officer that
I
searched
have
the
to
defendant?
come over to get
Yes,
the
I frisked him.
spot, and then I will get back to you.
Okay. And what did you feel on that frisk?
So,
I felt a
tell him I know this
large,
is the number 2, and
solid
my
object,
captain's
which I identified as a handgun, and then a glass object that resembled the feel of a pipe, usually used in the hobby of smoking legal
Okay.
substances.
I'm going to stop you there. Now, you've searched defendants previously, is that right?
Yes, many.
Okay. And I'd imagine that you typically take photos of the evidence that they have on them?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I imagine typically those photos, usually it's going to be a picture of the defendant, is that right?
Can you elaborate on that, like of their body or?
Oh, yeah, it's going to be a picture of the defendant themselves. They're going to be in the photo, right?
No, not usually.
Why is that?
Usually we're focused on what they have in their pockets. Obviously, this person was
It's simply that. It's
shot by officers,
talk to the
so
man, get your
I didn't feel a
understanding
need
of
to
it.
showcase the aftermath of that.
Do something that isn't like
Okay. I'd like for you to reference Exhibit A1,
your fucking
if you could.
itinerary, you know?
Let me
One
know when
second.
you're ready.
All right, go ahead, shoot.
Now, where in that photo is the defendant located?
In a driveway of a parking garage that was
We've
shut
had this
down.
situation go on before HR was officially a thing.
Okay.
Do you
Can
want
you
street-
just? Yeah, I'm asking where in the photo the defendant is located.
Like on the like what street name or relevant to me?
Well, no. Well, yeah, relevant to you. Where in the photo is he?
To the right, kind of towards the
More doesn't have to follow.
bottom
Follow chain of
ish of my feet,
She
like
responds
behind
to
my
the
feet,
sheriff,
sort of.
and that's it.
Right, so he's sort of behind your feet.
Yes.
Now, that's a picture of what you found on him.
I don't know.
Yes.
I honestly don't think anything's gonna happen with it, so I'll let you know.
And I'd like to go back to the stop itself. Again, you can't state for the court who was driving the vehicle when you pulled it over. Is that right?
No, I cannot.
Yeah.
Um,
know that I'm waiting
Without,
to see how things go
you know, knowledge after the fact, but prior knowledge, no, I did not know what was going over.
Okay, so at the time that you stopped the vehicle, there was no indication as to who was the driver.
No.
And you stated as well that you ended up losing sight yourself of the vehicle.
Yes.
We all know each other on a personal level.
And finally, when do you come back to find the defendant? Did you
Um,
find him on scene in Exhibit A1?
No, he was more near the vehicle. I did move him away at the time just to get him away from the vehicle and off the street so he wasn't run over.
All right, so when you found him again, he was out of the vehicle.
Not that I know of, no.
Yes, he was
Thank you.
unconscious.
You
statements
want a moment?
from Hurst, and then she's gonna go talk to Angela Storm about it. Because Angela Storm and Arnhem have known each other for years.
All right, no further questions, Your Honor.
So, I mean, it is relative. Like, she knows how to put him in his place.
All right, Officer or Deputy
I get that,
Scaletta,
but
you
she knows
step
how to
on,
do it.
please. Prosecution, do you have any further witness?
Good job, Scaletta. You know your job. RS.
Yeah, well, you missed it last
At this time, Your Honor, because of the circumstances of which that caused the situation for the other, at this time, I would not have any other witnesses.
It's still
All right, does the prosecution rest?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, I do.
Okay, defense, do you have any witnesses to call?
No, Your Honor. The defense rests.
All right, are we prepared for opening statements, or should we go into recess?
Your Honor, I'd like a recess of 5 minutes.
Brandon, this court is now in recess.
All rise.
All right, so after some things have come to light, Prosecutor Blackstone has suddenly decided to drop all charges on the defendant. So with that case, I will now consider this case dismissed.
Yeah, dog.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Gracias.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All rise.
did it,
Court is
Cub.
now adjourned.
We did it, dog.